Hello everyone and welcome to the class. My name is David Acox and today we are talking all about the brand new features that you're all going to find in the latest operating system for the Mac known as macOS Sierra. Now there's a couple of things I want to go over for those of you who have not yet installed this operating system. So if you want to skip ahead to where we really actually dive into the content, you can skip ahead to that time code. Otherwise though, this is some important information that you might want to be aware of. So for those of you at home who have not yet upgraded to this latest operating system, there's a few things that you should know. The most important thing, I've said this with every class when we're dealing with a new operating system, is compatibility. So make sure that not only the software that you have is compatible with this new operating system, but the hardware. Printers, scanners, anything that you have that plugs into your computer, make sure it's compatible with macOS Sierra. And usually you can do it with just a little bit of Googling, okay? The other thing I want to just mention is if you can't find it online, there's an app that we covered only a few weeks ago that you might want to check out called Get Human. And it's a free app. It's also a website. I believe it's gethuman.com. I could be wrong. But it's just like every direct phone number for every major company out there. I mean, for example, when I have to call Amazon, good luck finding that number. They have it. So big companies hate that app. I love it. So check that out. Another thing I want to mention is, make sure you know all of your passwords, your Apple ID, iCloud, and your admin password, because you're going to need all of them. Make sure you leave adequate time for doing this installation. Don't think that you're going to do it in half an hour, because even if your computer can download it in half an hour, it's not going to take half an hour to install it. And if you have multiple user accounts on your computer, you need to set up each account with the new settings. Now that doesn't take that long, but it might take some time depending on what those users actually do on your computer. And also I'd like to remind you that as you're going through and you finish this process, one of the first things you're going to want to do upon completing the installation of Sierra, go to the App Store and run all of your updates. There's going to be probably a lot of them. So, and this is for a few different reasons, but for those of you who are on laptops, make sure you're connected to power, because there's going to be a lot of stuff going on in the background following the installation of Sierra. And it's going to really crank through your battery. So just if you do notice your battery go down, don't freak out, okay? There's a reason for it. And it's going to go back to normal once it's done with that process. Okay, final thing before we actually begin the class here. For any of you out there who are watching this class right now, who are brand new to the Mac in general, this may not be the best class for you. I want to at least mention briefly our other class, which is our new to Mac class. Now this is a very special class because we put a ton of time and research and editing into it to make it as perfect as we possibly can. And it is designed for any of you who are new to this stuff or just have never had a teacher really explain it to you. So we design it very specifically to make it easy to follow. We give you the most important notes. One thing I have to say personally is that when I go to a bookstore and I see these manuals for the Mac that are like this thick, you don't need this much information. You need this much information. And that's what we try to give to you. And there is a certain degree of, I don't think it's, I'm not trying to overstate it, but artistry that goes into going over what do people need to know. So just know that if you're new to this stuff, that might be the class you might want to check out first, because we've just re-recorded it for this operating system. So everything we go over today will be in that class as well. And now, for those of you who have just rejoined us, welcome back. So we're going to go over the most important features here, starting with one of my absolute favorites, which is Universal Clipboard. Now this operating system has only been out for a day, and I'm already just loving this feature. And it's one of those features that you're going to experience and then wonder how you ever lived without it. And basically what it allows you to do is you can have your iPad, you can have your iPhone, you can have your Mac, and you can highlight something, copy it, and paste it immediately on the other device. It's a great feature. You're going to love it. If you don't find it working, it could be because your device is not running the current operating system, iOS 10. It could be that you have different Apple IDs going on. That can definitely be a cause of problems. But It's a great feature. Absolutely, absolutely love it. Next feature we're going to talk about is what everyone in the media is talking about, which is Siri is here for the Mac. So now your Mac won't understand you. Apple's not laughing at that one. Hi Apple, how you doing? By the way, can I just say a quick message to Tim Cook that's totally off topic? Tim, I have never in my life ever intentionally said the word ducking. Those of you who have an iPhone got that reference, I assure you. So anyways, where were we? Try to inject some humor into these classes. You gotta keep it light. Siri, that's right. Siri, the feature to be able to search by voice, is now here on the Mac. So how do you activate it? Well, there's a few different ways. I'm gonna show you them right now. So the first is this little icon, which you may see here at the top right corner of your Mac. Another location for it is down here in your dock. It's right next to Finder. Okay, that little icon there. But what I want to just very quickly go over is where are the settings for Siri. So let's go into that. We're going to hit the Apple icon, go to System Preferences, and from here we have Siri here at the very bottom of the dock. By the way, quick mention about that dock, you may notice the icons moved around a little bit. So for example, Startup Disk used to be down here on the bottom. So if you can't find something, it may still be there, it's just in a different part. Siri, here we have Siri. So you can choose, of course, what language, what voice. For always, whatever reason, I like a British male Siri. I don't know why, I just find it amusing. But we also now have Irish and South African in female, so that's kind of cool. Voice feedback, if you want Siri to talk back to you, insert obvious joke here, you can do that. Mic input, for all of you, that's going to be internal. And then keyboard shortcut. Now the default that you'll see right here is hold command space. Notice it says hold, not press. Why? Because when you press and release, command and hold, that is actually Spotlight. So I kind of like that they went with that because Spotlight and Siri are very similar. They're both search functions. So I personally chose that one. Just know that in order to use Siri, you have to hold down those two keys. It's not just a simple press. Okay? Or if you want, the other option here is you can create your own. Just it can't be used by anything else. So you couldn't be like Command C, for example. Okay. Show Siri menu bar, that's where you'll find that little option there at the bottom. And you know, there's a ton of different things that you can ask Siri, and Mark and I were going over, we were kind of putting together a list for all of you, what would be like the most important Siri functions that you all might need to know. And usually when we're creating these classes, the first type of people that we tend to go to are people who are in business. And so what we have done is in that PDF guide that, again, if you haven't downloaded it, there's a link in the description of this video where we put kind of a summary of everything that we're going over today, including one full page that is just about Siri commands. The ones that you might want to know or just memorize and just know that they're there. For example, one that I love is you can now use Siri to dim your screen. It's just kind of a cool feature, I guess, if you're too lazy to hit the dim key. One thing, by the way, if you do use that feature, if you have auto brightness turned on, it doesn't work. So just be aware of that. But there are some really great Siri commands. You'll find all of those in the PDF. There's no point in wasting time on it now. Let's move on. We're going to talk about photos here. There's a couple of cool features here in photos that I want to talk about. Oh, there's yours truly. All right. The first one is memories. Keep in mind, what you're looking at here is my demo computer, so there's not a lot of content in it. But this is the kind of thing that you're gonna see when you click on this little Memories tab right here. Okay, and it's basically like a cute little slideshow of photos from different events in time. I woke up this morning on my real account and it had like this day, like 5 years ago, you know, photos that I took on that day and where I was. Just kind of cool little things. I find it cute and kind of interesting. But it's an interesting way to relive your photos. Another feature you'll see here is people. Again, demo computer. But basically what you can do is you can assign your photos to people. Also, I want to mention about the Photos app. There's a lot here going on in the background. So when you first download macOS Sierra, what I would recommend you do is open the Photos app and just minimize it, okay? There's a lot of indexing that's all going on in the background. You're not gonna see it other than your battery dropping, as mine is clearly. But just might wanna let it do that, even possibly overnight. The bigger reason for that though is coming up in a bit when we start talking about file storage. We'll get there. Next thing we're gonna talk about here in Photos is the ability to edit live photos. Now, live photos is a feature that you're going to find on the iPhone and the iPad where basically when you shoot a photo, it's actually taking 1.5 seconds of video before and after you shoot that photo. Personally, I'm not a very big fan of this feature because it is a really easy and kind of silly way to take up a lot of extra space. So for me personally, I usually don't do it. Some people out there love it and great for them, but personally I don't. The next one I want to go over here is a new feature in editing. Now, I've brought this up before. I do read many of your comments that you leave in the section below. I don't always have time to respond to all of them, but over the years, people have been a little upset with Apple over the fact that they killed off the app known as Aperture. Because it just had more of an ability to really get in there and edit the photos better than iPhoto or now Photos. There's kind of an interesting way around that now, which does involve the app Photos with extensions. And I want to show you a couple of them real quickly. So I'm going to use, let me just use this little photo here. This is one of my mentors. I have 2 mentors in my life. That's Steve. So Steve Cook, awesome dude. Very, very happy to have him in my life. So I'm going to go into edit a photo here. And one of the features I want to show you that's new, actually, you know what? That is not a good photo because I can tell that photo has a filter on it. Let's go to a different photo. Sorry about that. Let's go to, ooh, here we go. How about that? Shot that with my drone. Love my little drone. I always name my drones. My new drone is named Drone of Arc. Thank you, Pam Rice, for naming that one. Let's go into edit and go into adjust here. Now, some of you, hold on, I'm going to hide this so you don't see it right away. Some of you may already know this, not all of you do, but when you go into adjustments, initially I know people were really upset because they're like, that's it, that's all I can change. Well, it is a little bit more than that, and there's a way to go even further into it, which I'll show you in a moment. So notice when I put my cursor here over light, see that little arrow to the right? If I click on it, here are all the different parts that make up light. So the first one you see here, brilliance, is brand new. Now in the past, you may have heard me say in photos classes that I tend to think that adding just a little bit of saturation to any photo tends to make it look a little bit better. This does a better job. So add just a little bit of brilliance. Brilliant! There you go. Good to go. Looks much, much better. Another thing I want to mention, this feature isn't entirely new, and it's going to come up later when we talk about system preferences, is extensions. For those of you who don't know what an extension is, basically an extension is one app's ability to communicate with another without actually leaving that app. And this is a great feature hidden within Photos. So there are 2 apps that I have mentioned before, one more than the other, that are really great alternatives if you can't afford Photoshop. The first one is Pixelmator, which is a great app. I love them. I also love that they put out really great tutorial videos on their website. Not a lot of app companies out there do that. But also there's another one called Affinity. If you want to check those out, we'll put links in the description of the video. So let me give you an example. There's a touch-up filter, okay, that's in Pixelmator. By going here into extensions, I can now use it within Photos. So I can go into repair, clone, light, color, soften, sharpen. That's just one example. There's a lot more that are out there, and there's certainly a lot more coming as more apps develop their extensions for Photos. So for those of you who feel like you're not getting the most out of Photos, that might be an interesting thing to check out. And the way that you add those extensions is through system preferences. So again, we'll get there in just a little bit. Let's see, that's it for that. Next thing we're going to talk about, we're getting out of Photos here for a moment, is we're going to go into Notes. So Notes now has a feature where you can collaborate with other people. And this could be used in several different scenarios. You could use it, of course, in business. You might use it if you're creating shopping lists, although personally this is not my favorite method for creating a shared shopping list. I think that reminders is a better way to do it. And we've done a class on that before. But now if you want to work on a note with someone else, just have something typed. You can see I hit my keyboard, okay? And see this little icon right up here, this little human with a plus symbol? Well, when you click on that, you can invite someone else to join the document. So you can either invite them by email, by text message, a hyperlink, whatever you want. All the options are right there. Let's get out of Notes. Next feature I want to talk about, oh, Apple's gonna just love me for this one. iTunes, everyone's least favorite music player. For those of you who maybe missed it at some point, I do not love iTunes, especially ever since I signed up for Apple Music and then stopped my subscription and then discovered that all of my music was gone, including stuff that I didn't have elsewhere, apparently, which is my fault. Anyway, so iTunes got a little bit of a redesign, and it looks a little bit more like the iOS 10 version. So for those of you who do use iTunes, in all seriousness, and go back and forth between your iPhone and your Mac, for example, you're going to find that it's a very similar experience. So it's just a little bit visually different, but it is still basically the same iTunes. So you got it all there. Let's get out of that app. Next one is a very big feature that you should all absolutely tackle when you have time. That's the key thing, and this is a big one. If you're on a laptop, be on power. Plug it in for this one. Go to the Apple menu, go to About This Mac, and from here we're going to go over to Storage, okay? Excuse me, I got a little itch on my nose. Here under Storage, it does some really fascinating things, and if you want to play along with this, okay, when you're doing this for the first time, look at the numbers here and write them down. Okay, look at how much stuff you've got and how much free space you have. And then look at what it looks like when we're done with this, okay? So this is your layout, okay? And you'll notice there's this new area here called Purgeable. I don't love that name, by the way. Purgeable. That just doesn't bring up happy imagery. I don't know. Go here into Manage. Let's go into Manage. And Apple, I have to give credit. They have done a really great job at explaining this stuff, because this can be really complex. So essentially what you can do is go through these menus here and you can move your files to iCloud Drive. So what that's going to do is it's going to look at like the old stuff that you haven't accessed in ages. You still have it. It's just that it's going to move it to iCloud Drive. Now, if you back up your data, it's a little bit unclear to me right now if you use something like Time Machine. Is Time Machine accessing that data? I'm not sure, because this stuff just came out, but you know, we'll try to look into it and post it in the notes section for all of you. But this first one right here, this is the big one. Store in iCloud. Stores all files and photos in iCloud and saves space by keeping only recommended open files and optimized photos on the Mac when space is needed. So one button, it's going to start that process. And understand that even though you're not going to really see anything happening, it's doing a lot. So you're going to notice if you're on a laptop, for example, you're going to probably hear your fans go on. Okay, you're going to notice that the battery is running down. It might get a little bit hot. There's a lot happening in the background there that you're not going to see. But what I would invite you to do is the next day, maybe, go back to that window and look at how much free space you have now. The amount that I got back after going through this process was incredible. I was really, really amazed. This is on my main computer I'm talking about. Really, really amazing job they did with that. Next one is optimized storage for iTunes. So for those of you who have purchased TV shows or movies, if you haven't watched it, okay, you might as well optimize it. You still own a license to access it. You can still download it off the internet, but by hitting optimize, it's going to, get it off your local hard drive so you have a little bit more free space. Empty trash automatically. Great feature for those of you who just simply forget to do that. So if you forget to empty your trash all the time, you can tell it to automatically do it for you every 30 days. And then there's reduce clutter. This is a big one because it's going to show you what files are taking up the most space and let you basically decide what to do with them. Also, I want to mention over here on the left-hand side, we have applications. So this is cool in the sense that it shows you in a very simple screen what apps you have that take up the most space. No shock, for me it's Final Cut. I do a lot of video editing. Some of you know I have a little bit of a second gig going on here with some of my aerial films that I do. So no shocker that one is a pretty significant file size on my computer. And then we have documents here, okay, on the left-hand side. Once again, it's going to show you what of your documents are taking up the most space and give you a really easy way to make a decision. Hey, it's the #1 biggest file on my computer. Do I really need it, or can I let it go? And then you can delete it right from there. So it's a very, very cool feature. So take some time, go through that. It's worth it. And if you want, let us know in the comment section. How much free space did you get back when you were done with that process? Next one, we're going to talk about I'm just going to mention this one. I'm not going to show it. I don't feel it's necessary, and I want to keep the pacing going. Messages. So for those of you who like to text message from your laptop, you now have rich text links. So for example, if I send you like a YouTube video, you'll be able to play the YouTube video right from within the window. Also, if someone sends you something like a photo, there's a feature called Tap Back, where you can kind of cursor over it and you can sort of like it. It's kind of cheesy. I think it's definitely the kind of feature that's going to be more aimed at the younger generation, but it's an interesting feature that's there. Also, next we're going to go over Safari. Now, this is interesting because some of you who've taken many of our classes may know I personally don't use Safari. I've mentioned it before. I think it's a great secondary browser. For me, I'm personally more of a Google Chrome guy, but after these features here, it's hard to not love Safari. So I'm not switching, but I would understand anyone who does. So the first feature that's kind of cool, and I found a bug within it, and I want to show you how to correct it, has to do with a feature called Picture in Picture. So basically, if you're on a YouTube video, and I'm just going to pull up one of ours here, and I'm going to mute my audio, okay? I'll skip the ad in just a moment. So when you're watching a video on YouTube or Vimeo or really any website, you can theoretically secondary click on the video. I'm sorry. Yeah, well, you will see it in a moment. You can secondary click on the video, and there's a feature called Picture in Picture. For some videos, it'll also be an icon down here at the bottom right. Now you'll notice it's not showing up there. So how do you get to it? It's a little weird with YouTube. You're gonna secondary click on the video. Some of you know that's a right click. Wait a minute, it's still not there. Secondary click again, and there it is. Picture in Picture. So it kind of removes itself from the screen. You can move it around. You can resize it by clicking and dragging on the corner. So I can make it nice and tiny up there. All right. No, you still have to keep that window open. So if you want to go on and do other things, like let's say I wanted to stay on the internet, I can't just go to another website. I would need to open a new tab first. Easy way to open a new tab, if you remember it, is Command T as in Tom, or tab, I guess, and now I can go on and do my thing. Okay, so that's Picture in Picture. Close. Another thing I want to mention about Safari is that now Apple Pay works within Safari. So if you use Apple Pay on your iPhone, okay, provided you're syncing all that data to your Mac, you can now pay for things using Apple Pay. I want to mention something that's a little bit off topic about Apple Pay, okay? I was kind of, on the fence about should we use it. I've mentioned before that security is an emotion. There's no such thing as security, okay? You have emotions of security, but true security does not exist. So I wanted to just share something with all of you. So I went through a thing about a month ago where there were some funky charges that started showing up on my credit card bill. And the way that I found out about it was because my credit card was listed with Apple Pay. So if you take the time and go in on your iPhone or your iPad and you put in your credit cards into Apple Pay, it doesn't mean you have to use them with Apple Pay, you just have to list them. When there's a charge, you get a notification about it on your phone. And that, for me, was the difference between a little problem and potentially a big problem. So thanks, Apple Pay. You just saved my butt. Appreciate it. And no thank you to the hotel in Las Vegas that tried to charge me. Vegas, yeah. I was in Vegas, yeah, like 11 months ago. Anyway, so I am a fan of Apple Pay is where I'm going with that. Another thing I just want to say real quickly about Safari, it's a kind of behind the scenes feature, so we don't really need to show it, is Download Manager. Now, some of my clients who are watching this video, they know who they are. When I work with people and I go into their downloads folder, sometimes as a tech, I will see like 50 copies of Microsoft Silverlight or like 20 copies of Adobe Flash. The new Download Manager prevents that kind of thing from happening. If it senses that it's the same file, it'll just replace the old file. It's not going to make you download 50 copies like before, because that, by the way, is a really great way to kill a lot of space on your computer, depending on how guilty you are of doing that. So what I'd like to do is the next features that we're going to go over are all in System Preferences. So let's go here to System Preferences, Apple Menu, System Preferences. I'm just going to go over a few of the little changes that you're going to find here, starting with Desktop and Screensaver, which I'll just mention here, okay? They give you two new wallpapers that you'll find here. One is the one you see on my screen here. The other one is This one, ooh, pretty. By the way, if you like really great photography, I just want to give a quick shout out. I'm not paid for this, by the way. There's a great app. I love it. If you have a Retina Mac, whether it's a Retina iMac or MacBook Pro, you might want to consider checking it out. It's called Magic Window 4K. It's a little app that you can get in the App Store, and it replaces your desktop background with time-lapse photography, and I love it. As a creative person, it's good material. So check that out. We actually have a class on it, but you can check that out if you like. Next feature I want to talk about here in System Preferences is actually under Dock. That right here we have prefer tabs when opening documents. So this is kind of a great feature for those of you who do open a lot of documents at the same time. You can tell it to always, that's actually what I do, you can always open documents in tabs instead of a whole new window. Because when you have like 5 documents on your window, it can just be really hard to find anything. So this just adds the tab feature that you would normally find in something like Safari to Pages. So it's a really, or Numbers or Keynote. So it's a really great little feature. I'm a fan. Next one we have here is under Security, which you're not going to see on mine because I don't have an Apple Watch because I'm not a fan. So here under Security and Privacy in general, if you have an Apple Watch, you can now use your Apple Watch to unlock your Mac. Still a fan of Fitbit. Next one we have here is Dictation. Really just a mentioning here. You will notice if you look here at System Preferences, if you look at that list, those icons have shifted and some of them are in different places. If you were looking for the dictation features, they're now located here in Keyboard, along with something else that I would like to recommend you check out, which is here under Text. These 2 features right here. Capitalize words automatically and add a period when you hit the space bar twice. Simple features. For those of you who are on iPhones and iPads, we've had this feature for years. We never had it on the Mac until now. So, hey, great little feature. You might want to check it out. Next one we have here is, let's see, under iCloud. We're going to go into iCloud, and we're going to go to iCloud Drive. Right there. Okay. It's this first option you see right here, Desktop and Documents folder. I would recommend using it because it's a teaching account. I'm not going to. Basically what this is going to do is this is going to allow any of your devices to access any files that you have, whether it's in your Documents folder or on your desktop. It's a great feature. I'm a fan. The one thing you should know is that for those of you who are still on like the freebie version of iCloud, you're probably not going to be able to do it if you use this feature. I've always said, even if you go to the $1 a month plan or whatever the equivalent is for those of you who don't live in the United States, it's a really, really minimal cost for a lot of storage when you compare it to other services that are out there. It's a pretty good deal, so you might want to check that out. So love that feature, and I want to just give a quick off-topic piece of advice, if I may. For those of you out there who have really messy desktops, you might want to consider just put it in a folder. Reason being is your Mac preloads information, and if just the raw file is right there on the desktop, it's eating up memory. It's good to have it in a folder. That's my little tip of the day. So the next feature that I want to show you, I just want to make very clear, I don't know a lot about how this stuff works, but I think it's really important for me to mention because there are going to be people out there who are watching this class who know someone who's affected by a disease like ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, and similar diseases that could stand to seriously benefit from this feature that you're about to see in accessibility. So we're going to go into accessibility here, and the new feature is at the very bottom of the list here. It's called Dwell, okay? Dwell Control. I just want to read to you what it says. Dwell Control allows the mouse to be controlled using head or eye tracking technology. Dwell or hold the mouse still for a specific amount of time will trigger the dwell action specified in settings. So for anyone out there who's dealing with something like ALS, this feature is massive. And what it means is that your Mac can use these new technologies that are coming out that can track eye movements so that you could use your eyes to move the cursor and click, etc. It's an amazing advancement. It's a phenomenal feature. Some of you know this. I've been doing private work with people for years now. And anytime you work with clients, no matter who you are, whether you're a therapist or whatever, or a teacher, your students tend to affect you, at least some of them more than others. And there was a gentleman who I used to work with who lost his battle with ALS a few years ago, and I really pushed myself to allow him to move his cursor by using his voice, and it was hard. And the fact that this technology is here, for any of you out there who know someone who's dealing with this stuff, make sure that they're aware of it, because that feature is huge for people who need it. So just want to at least mention that. Again, I'll put whatever resources I can in the description of the video. Next feature I want to talk about here is called extensions. I already mentioned it, but I just want to show you this is where you go to put it in. So it's right here, extensions. And so this is your various apps' abilities to communicate with each other. So for example, Microsoft OneNote, if I want to add a share menu, I can just click that. And so when I share, a photo, I can put it right into OneNote as an example. Pixelmator, you'll see those here. Todoist, another one. Okay, and these are, there are other options here for like markup. So if you want to mark up an image, you can do that. You can do the repair tool now in addition to that. A whole bunch of other little ones here that you can check out. That's going to change depending on what you have, of course, on your computer. Next thing we're going to talk about is Mail. So let's go into that. Let's go into the Mail app. Now, demo computer, we don't have any actual email, but it's easy enough for me to at least mention this. So if you look here, this is where the messages would be located. See here it says sort by date. Well, if you look just to the right of it, we have this new little icon here. That is to sort by unread messages. So it'll take all those unread messages and just move them right to the top. Very, very simple feature. The other one I just want to mention is in the preferences of Mail, when you go into accounts, there's also a feature to add mail drop. So that, for example, if you want to send a larger file, it'll just automatically do that. And here's the thing, I believe that feature was actually there before. I could be wrong, but I wanted to mention it because I could be wrong. So just in case, that feature is there. Next one we have here is Finder preferences. So for those of you who don't know, Finder is not this up here at the top right, top left rather. Finder is the Mac icon that you see down here at the bottom left. But the preferences for Finder are here. So we're going to go up there to the top left corner of your Mac. We're going to go into Preferences, and here under the Advanced Preferences, you're going to see two new features here. Remove items from trash for the last 30 days. That's the same feature that you saw earlier. It's just another place where they put it. And keep folders on top when sorting by name. I find that feature to be really handy, especially when I'm dealing with my Documents folder and my Downloads folder. So just make sure all those folders are right there at the very top. Very, very simple. So anyways, I want to thank you all for taking your time to watch us here today. For those of you who have never seen our classes before, we tend to put out one, sometimes two classes a week. If you want to follow what we do, the easiest way is just to hit that little subscribe button and stay in touch with us. I encourage you to leave a comment below. We don't always have time to respond, but we try to. So leave us a comment below. Let us know your thoughts. We always are trying to get better at what we do. And finally, last but not least, I just want to say a massive thank you to those of you who have supported Tech Talk America over the years. For those of you who have no idea what I'm referring to, we have a very simple program that anyone can use to support us when they shop online. It is free. It does not cost you anything. To find out the details, head over to our website, to techtalkamerica.com, and go to the support page. It takes 2 seconds to set up, and it means the world to us. So thank you all. And also, very, very quickly, I want to say thank you to those of you who get what we're trying to do here. We're not creating cat videos. We're using YouTube as an educational platform. And very, very few people take YouTube as seriously, I think, as we do. And I love what I get to do. To the other people who are out there who are using this medium as a method to educate people, I thank you for also sharing kind of the cause of what we're trying to do. And just thank you to our fans for continuing to support us over the years. So thank you for joining us. This is David A. Cox with Tech Talk America. Class dismissed.